Hey everybody, it's Paul Grossman, the dark arts wizard of AI-driven test automation. And today I have a list. I have a list of a bunch of basic and advanced features that you should be asking about and looking for when you're deciding to choose what automation tool you want to use. And the list looks exactly like this. Here it is. So this is my automation features. This is on top of a WebSim. WebSim is a cool little site that I use for building examples of anything I wanted to see on the internet. Let's say I work for a client and they have an internal website, which I can't share with you guys, and I come across an interesting, weird little thing that is going on. I will build a replica of the function or feature or issue that I see, and I'll build it out on WebSim, and then I can share that because it's not somebody's actual website. So I like to do this, but one of the other things is that I've been working in test automation for 25 freaking years. Can you believe that? 25 years. And I got one viewer already taking a look at me over here at Facebook. Thank you very much. I got Matthias, Selenium, always. Selenium. Matthias, you gotta get into Playwright. You got it, because you don't know what you're missing, my friend. You don't know what you're missing. But rest assured too. Okay, so we got all this stuff over here. So Matthias is giving me all the stuff over there. Let me show that up there. There's Matthias doing that. And Java. Okay. So Matthias is sitting here. He's gonna. I might bring you up, and we can maybe argue this because I'm just learning how to figure out how to do that. If you wanna chat, my biggest complaint about Java is that it is so much code. I will probably, at least before the AI times, I would spend so much time writing so much extra code that I could do the exact same thing in a different language. I can do it with much less code in JavaScript and TypeScript. Heck, I could do it, in BASIC, in VB Script with UFT but hey, nobody brags about that anymore, right? But yeah, so he's listed Selenium, Rest Assured. I don't have Rest Assured on the list, but let me just walk through this so you kind of get an idea of what I have built out here, and then I'm going to go through the AI stuff and talk a little bit about the how I built this on WebSim, because that's kind of cool, because I'm not a big fan of AI slop, but I do like using AI to build tools and stuff that I've got over there. And just a reminder, you can chat with me over here on our screen, and I will let you see what we're going. This is my URL that you can jump to go take a look at and see what we're doing. So on the lists over here, I'm going to even see if I can adjust my screens, because I think it's a bit small. So we're going to make that a little bit bigger. So the first things you want to do is I've divided this up into basic and advanced features. The very minimum is your basic features that you want to have out there. And that is, first of all, your basic actions. What can your automation tool? Your tool darn well better be able to navigate to a URL. So we want to have a navigation over there. You should be able to enter some text into a field. You should be able to select something from a list. You should be able to click on a button. And lastly, you should be able to assert some issue, some item that's out there, something that a property, an element, it's as visible as does it exist, or something like that. So that's our very basic actions. If your automation tool doesn't do that, and I don't know of a single one that doesn't do any of those, then you want to take a pass. The next thing is you want to take a look at the elements. What kind of elements? The very basic of your elements you want to do. You know what? I'm going to go and take a look. We'll do this basic and advanced versions as we go along. So here's my advanced section at the bottom over here. What are other things that you would like, secondary things that you think you might want to have? So that would be like, you want to hover over an element, you want to right click or double click on something. I always nobody really realizes triple click is a thing out there. This is a triple click. Here's one click. Okay, that turns it on and off. Here's a double click. it will highlight one word. And if you triple click 1, 2, 3, it will highlight everything. Not a whole lot of people know that that's out there. If I'm going to do some with my automation, there's occasionally I want and need to use a triple click. It is rare, but yes, it does do that. A drag and drop. You should be able to drag from one place to another. It's not quite as used as much. And then lastly, when I said there was an assert, there is hard asserts, which is almost every automation tool does by default. And I prefer a soft assert. A soft assert is essentially this. If I'm validating that I have the word hover on my screen, right? And I find that the word hover does the next thing I want to validate is that these bits of text are on the screen, right? My test is doing this and validating that this information is here. A hard assert will say, "Hey, the word hover doesn't appear on the screen, so I'm going to stop right there because there's nothing else really to check." I don't believe in that. I think that means it leads to multiple executions of the tests and a waste of time. If this fails and I have other validations on the screen I want to do, I want to do each and every single one of them and tell me, was hover not there? Was soft assert not there? Now, soft assert is when you can do this. You can do, hey, this failed, but this passed, and this failed, and that passed. I like that a whole lot better. So Matthias is responding to me over here. What's he's got? He says he has a Playwright boilerplate for an automation, but he knows an MCP with Playwright is game changing. Absolutely. MCP is the thing that's going on today, and those things are actually being added in as add-ins into VS Code. Matthias, what's your favorite IDE? I mean, are you a VS Code guy? Do you like IntelliJ? I'd like to know if what's your preferred IDE. And does your company require you to use one over another, or your clients when you're doing that? I'd love to know that. All right, I'm going to go back over here while Mateus thinking about that. He'll respond because he's a good guy out there. So those are my advanced actions. Let me go back over to elements. What kind of elements do we definitely need to be able to look at? Well, first of all, I need some textual validation that's on the screen. We're talking divs, H1, 2, 3, 4, P, for paragraphs, and of course, any sort of text that's in between on an element. In fact, let's go take a look and inspect on this screen and kind of show you what I am talking about. Let's bring this up a little bit here. I'm going to go over here and just use this screen over here. Let's see if I can find, I believe elements, I should be able to find this text. And if I look, there it is. That's what I'm talking about. The elements in between these left and right brackets, you can see it right over here. That's exactly what I'm looking for. All right. And by the way, Mateus, is your Playwright boilerplate, is that available to anyone up on like GitHub that anyone could go and fork over that project and use it? Because I'd love to do that. I'll even share the link if you have it available. I'd be more than happy to promote anything you got out there. And maybe even talking into a little bit of Playwright. Make a Playwright boilerplate version of it. By the way, that's another little tip. If you're starting to get into AI, you could have the AI go into agentic mode and build your project for you. I actually did that 2 days ago with a friend of mine, and it took us about 3 hours to get the whole thing. You want to know the better shortcut is have a boilerplate that's available from somebody else who built it in GitHub. Just look for the stars to see who's got the most, reliable, because there's going to be a ton up there, and see who's got a lot of friends who have started their project saying, hey, yeah, this works really cool. All right, moving on. As I said, elements. We need to be able to take a look at checkboxes, and I will go close this out so we don't have that much over there. You definitely want to have a checkbox, which is input. A list. Should be able to select from a list. You should be able to work with an input field. And look at this radio button, in, out. Oh, okay. I misspelled input. That is something. We'll talk about that in a moment, because I think I found that later on. Combo box, definitely want to be able to either type something in, or as you type it, it gives you a list. It's kind of a combination of both a drop-down list and an input field together. You definitely need to click on a button or a link. as we go along. Those are your basic elements you want to work with. Now, Teos has responded again, so let's go take a look what he's saying over there. The IntelliJ community, even with their caching problems, and he says, "Hey, this is where you can go and find his project." So I'm always willing to go and share out there. So let's go over to. I'll pull this up here and go to GitHub. And I am going to go github.com/ and MATHEUSCYNTRAO. Now, I was blessed or cursed with a little bit of dyslexia. Sometimes with my mouth, sometimes with my brain, sometimes with my hands. Worst thing you could ever mention on a resume, of course, or during an interview. I mean, who wants a dyslexic coder? That's probably why I didn't become a developer. I became a QA engineer because I'm really good at spotting mistakes that are out there. All right, this is Mateus's site over here, and I believe he has there's some two repos out there, Java fundamentals, and so he got 40 commits out there. This looks kind of cool. I'm going to go jump over there. Boy, I didn't think I would go off the side rails on this thing here, but you know what? He's a good guy, and you can just go out there, go and copy his project, and then you could go jump over to, let's say, GitHub Desktop, which is my favorite. There's GitHub Desktop. These are some projects that I've been working on. So I'm going to go over here just to show you how you can do this. You can clone a repository, and you want to go over to the URL. You saw me copy the URL from Mateus's project, and it is going over here. Now, this is Selenium. I knew it was Selenium, so I'm going to put that under my Selenium repos, and then I'll just click on clone. Now it's going and grabbing his project over there. We can see some of the history that he's got over here. Here's his history, all the times that he's been committing stuff into this. He started this almost 2 weeks ago. So there's this initial commit with the licenses and everything, and then adding in all sorts of different features and functionalities. So do check his stuff out. And in case you don't know Git or GitLab or GitHub, you can basically what I usually do is I have a whole bunch of repos over here. And each one I kind of name. I try and organize these as best as possible. I've got, IntelliJ projects over here. I've got AutoIt 3, Wreck and Roll, which is what used to be the SpecFlow. I don't know if that's going anywhere, and a whole bunch of other different little projects that I've been working on. So that's my thing. The one little tip I'll give you, I always like to keep my repos in the shortest path possible, because there is an issue with Windows, and as far as I know, I encountered it at least 3 years ago and I don't think that I've seen that it's been resolved, but there is a limit to how long your path can be. So if you put a name of a folder like this is my favorite repos here, and then slash, and then a big long description of what the repo folders are, slash, and another big long, you can get to the point where if you bring in the actual repo, which has the project paths and all of its folders and all of its subfolders, you can get to a point where Windows goes, hey, man, this path file is just too long. Interestingly enough, Apple does not have this problem. I am more of a Windows guy, and I just try, if I find an issue, I will try and work my way around it. But anyway, that is just a little hint and tip. Keep that path as short as possible. Put it off your C drive. Call it, repo or repos, and keep it as condensed as possible to avoid having that really long hitting that blockade where you got that path out there. Some of the things I kind of think about trying to do is actually building. One of the questions I had on a recent interview was, hey, what's the fastest way to pick up elements? I wasn't exactly sure what the question was. The closest thing I could come up with was that the difference between CSS and XPath. And obviously, yeah, CSS is faster, but I always have a motto: accuracy over speed. Okay. I'll get the accuracy first. And then if I can get it to kick up a little bit with while maintaining my accuracy, that's cool. Speed over accuracy will lead you down a rabbit hole you do not want to get into and you probably won't be able to get out of. All right. So what you want to do is, as I said, speed over accuracy. What they were asking me was what's the fastest part of a locator that you can pull back elements fastest. I thought it was the XPath versus CSS. Now, again, the thing is, everyone knows CSS is a little bit faster. Problem is, it's not self-describing. If you haven't described or given a good description of the element that you are looking for in the code, good luck 6 months later trying to remember what the heck it is. If it can't find what's on the screen, really good luck, because if you didn't document it well enough, you got yourself a little issue going on over there. That's why I like XPath better. Also, CSS cannot use text. You cannot do this in CSS. You can access all the other elements types, but you can't do it with text. The cool thing is, and this is why I'm a big fan of Playwright, there are at least 8 more different ways that you can find elements with Playwright. And in fact, one of the things is not find by, that's Selenium, is get by class. I'm going to say get by class. That's actually not the right type, the one. But basically, you can tell it go get by. I've got it somewhere over here. Get by. I'll see if I can find it. Get by role. That's what I'm looking for. Get by role. So here's the idea. In Playwright, you can do get by role button. And what it goes is says, you know what? I do happen to know that there are 2 classes that match for a button. It's a button and an anchor. Anchor is the square brackets, the angle brackets with an A for anchor. And both square brackets button and square brackets A are both can be found as buttons. And that's the great thing about Playwright. I don't have to in Selenium say look for an A and a button built into Playwright. It goes, yeah, I know those 2 things can look exactly alike to a user and different from a developer's point of view. And that's one of the things I'm a big fan of Playwright over Selenium these days. Anyway, so if anyone asks, CSS versus XPath, CSS is faster. It's not quite as self-describing. You can't use text with it. So that's why I go with XPath, because it is a little bit slower, but you're going to get more accuracy out of it and more. If you have to go back and look at your code and understand what the heck was you were building, or if you use the AI to go build it for you, it's going to be building stuff in there. All right, I spent a lot of time doing that. All right, so Mateus actually responded over here. Let's go take a look at what he had said. He says it's this is quite simple. This is his project overview. He says it's quite simple. It's a good start using BDD, TS, Docker, and GitHub. I have not gotten as much experience in Docker as I should, but I do like that it's TypeScript. I'm a big fan of that. BDD, so that's a 4-layer automation framework, and it's good if you have less technical people under you who are, not necessarily going to be trained in how to write code, but they can certainly write the test scripts that make calls to the intermediate layer in order to go interact with your elements, with your clicks, but with your page object model. And then finally at your lowest level where you are doing specialized things for trying to click on things or add it. Okay. All right. Mateus is starting to fight over here. No, he's a good guy. I'm just kidding. He's like, the faster document get element by Selenium Playwright uses JavaScript executor, like RIP, rest in peace, jQuery had. The ID always to be faster, but some friend. Okay, so here's the thing. You gave the right answer that they were looking for in my last interview. Was they said ID is fastest. It never occurred to me to actually go and do a speed check on ID. But you know what I like to do is I've got a plan on my on my books over here is actually go build a site and then build a test script that says, okay, pull back everything by ID, pull it back by locators and all that stuff. And see if and yes, some developers, some front end developers do not use test ID as web expect. Um, that's true. There is something I actually was going to put in here is that you should be able to have a contract. Well, he's talking about test ID. That's essentially you have a contract between the QA department and the developers. You know, try to make some friends, throw some pizza over the transom, to get your developers on your side over there. And basically, it says the test ID is an attribute that they will attach to the elements over there with a static description of whatever the element is that you are looking for, that you are that you want to use to identify. So even if the developer goes and changes the attributes like the ID, the name, whatever else we've got out there, uh, the actual test ID will stay the same. I was actually on a project where they had that in place, and then they decided to go change the locators for the text for the test ID, and we had to go back to them and say, listen, they have to that stays static. You're breaking the contract between QA. You're actually losing the company money because you're breaking the automation framework, which means we're not finding bugs, which means bugs gets to production, and getting bugs in production means you're losing money by having customers leave for your competitor. Don't go down that path. It's not a good path to go and do. But yeah, get element by selling all this stuff. It's kind of cool. RIP jQuery. It's been, I guess jQuery I didn't realize it's been dead. And probably because I really never had a project where jQuery was something I had to go into. All right, so let me go back over here. Again, you can take a look at this is the URL for what we're looking at over here. So your elements you should be able to interact with the basic ones: link button, combo box, radio button, input lists, and checkboxes. Essentially, they all interact, based off of the actions you can do. And if I go over to the advanced version of this, so if you got your basic ones over here, you should be able to find your elements in an iframe or a shadow DOM. That's going to give you probably your biggest challenges over. You should be able to look for images, which is IMG or SVG. You should be able to find fake combo boxes. This is my very first automation project challenge that I had when I started off in automation 25 years ago, which was that I had a fake combo box. And in fact, I took over the project from previous people, and they had a comment that says, we'll fix this later on. They had a drop-down box and they wanted to enter text into it, but they couldn't get it to work. They could get the focus on it. And then when they were trying to type into it, it would just move to the next item. The solution I came up with is that when you went to this particular box, I would have it say, okay, tab. They couldn't get it to open up the list, actually. I would say tab to the next element, and then shift tab back to the list to this thing. And then it would open up the list of items that are available. And then I could select the one that I wanted. And that solved it. And it was really cool. And I felt pretty good about that, and I was the only person on the team. So I was the only one who knew how that worked and how it was solved, which is perfectly fine. I mean, just getting around that. It's not something that impacts the user in any way that they would know, because they could actually interact with the element perfectly fine. And by the way, that tool that I was using at the time was WinRunner. WinRunner, yeah, good old WinRunner. I even have a license for it on the back there. And I feel kind of sad. WinRunner got deep sixed by HP, and I think it was a dumb move on their side. But high level people, they never used the tool. They just made the decision that an automation engineer like me or Mateus or other people just would never get the concept how to code in C. So it was kind of like C++, except it had no pointers. So we called it C minus minus. It's actually called TSL, the test scripting language. I think that was kind of short-sighted of them. Well, today we are all automation engineers. We're all very good in coding and languages and tools, and that was one of my favorite ones that we got lost in. We had to stick with QTP UFT, which had much less features, was much slower, but much easier to use. To be fair, they should have kept both of them. Anyway, enough of me chatting about that. What other things are you should you be able to do at the advanced level? You should be able to interact with a table, including rows and columns and cells. And you should be able to have a relative element location. If you have 5 different buttons that say add to cart, hey, Paulie, what does that look like? What do you mean 5 different buttons? Well, let's go over to Best Buy. I'm going to go and do that on the fly. Here's Best Buy over here. And let's say I want to get some computers and tablets like this. And I'm going to go click on it or click on that. Are you going to show it to me? You're going to show it to me? You're going to do a good demo? Are you going to? I don't want to apply for that. I just want some computers and tables. Or here, show me, shop now. Show me some stuff. Okay, here are some cool things. So take a look at this. Here's a great example. Things that the AI just picked for me over at Best Buy. I've got an add to cart, add to cart, add to cart, and add to cart. You need to have relative element location in order to find the correct one. Let's say I want to get that Fire TV stick. So I want to go and find the add to cart that is near Fire TV stick. And that's what that means is when you have relative element location to find the unique identifier of multiple ones that are on the screen. All right, so let's get back over here. And lastly, one thing you definitely want to interact with is a random toast pop-up message that comes up, let's say up in the right-hand corner. This is particularly tricky with speed because those pop-up messages don't last very long. They could be up there for like 5 seconds, and you got to be able to address those. And that could be an issue if you actually have a built-in wait that is inside of your automation framework. And it's sitting there waiting for the page to kind of settle down. And oh, there's a pop-up message. So I'm going to wait for it to settle down. Oh, pop-up message is gone. You have to consider that when you're building your automation framework. So keep an eyeball on that. Let's go over here. Class and attributes of your elements. As Matthias said, that there are different ones that are out there. So this, you need to be able to find your class. Class is actually a copy of these guys over here. When I built this, I actually have redone it and made it a little bit more fancy, but this is done. We have tag, ID, name, area label, placeholder, and text. And as Matthias mentioned, ID is the fastest way that you can do this. Hey, I got 2 viewers out there over there on Facebook. Thank you very much, whoever's out there. Just a reminder, you can chat with me if you're on Facebook, just like Matthias is doing. And we have a new message from Matthias. So let's go see what's going on over here. So he says, with React and Angular, we have a lot of dynamic elements. That's correct. Classes, CSS selector can change the framework needs. So test ID brings this facility to test exactly what he's talking about. That is the way that you get around where you have other dynamic elements that are out there. Somebody asked me that on an interview actually recently, and they said, how do you work with dynamic elements? The answer I came up with was, well, if you're good at regex and if you went through UFT, QTP, you got very good at regular expressions, using that to match a type of element. Although test ID is my preferred way of doing that, just having a specific type of class that's out there that is specific for the automation, so that you don't have to worry about the dynamic elements. Well, as I said, it does require a contract between you and dev, and sometimes dev goes, "Oh, QA, we're pretty solid. We don't have to really worry about QA." And besides, they find all our mistakes, and it's just bad situation. That's why I like throw cheese pizzas over the transom at them to get them on our side. All right, so good point, Matthias. Thank you very much on that. And whoever it was we were seeing chat over there has left. So it's just you and me, Matthias. So I'm going to keep going over here. You keep throwing those curveballs over at me. I love it. All right. So class and attributes, tag ID. As we know, ID is the fastest way. You've got your name. You should be able to even identify by area label, placeholder, and of course, text out there. Now, if you got a really good test automation architect on your team, you should be able to use these to embed in place self-healing elements in order to find an element in case the developers decide to change all this stuff with the information that you had from the previous sprint and release of your framework. If the locators aren't good anymore, then you can actually have code say, all right, let's pull apart what we had that we said was working and throw them into ARIA label or placeholder and see if we can find matches in the same or similar class that we had to get the automation framework going. Because my goal is always to try to reduce maintenance by 80%. All right. Those are the basic attributes that you want to work with. So what are the advanced attributes? Data QA is exactly what Mateus was talking about over here. Everybody's got a slightly different term for it. He said test ID, but data QA also same thing, and everyone's got a slightly different flavor for it, but it's exactly the same that we're talking about. Title, looking for a title. Also, maybe you're looking for a substring. We're looking for a match of something inside of another one. In a good example I've got of that is that when, as I was talking about having self-healing, if you happen to have identified something by the tag, well, let's say a string. Yeah, you went by actual text over here, but you can't find it anymore. Taking the text, lowercasing it, and then putting dashes around it and searching for it inside of, let's say, I think it's ARIA label that has that. I'll just put some examples in there when I go and build this. So that's our most things is trying to find something with that's case insensitive or a substring match or putting dashes in it. One other feature that I've done most recently is that I would take a look and see is one of the attributes we have 3 words. Add to cart, and then see if I can see add to or to cart and find that. No less than 3. 2 won't work. 3 and then 4 gets just absolutely crazy. So it's just at the 3-word level, and then you could say add to. Maybe it's now add to my cart, and you could still match and find it. So self-healing, a little bit smarter stuff on that, rather than burning a bunch of tokens to have an AI go and do the whole thing for you. All right. Anyway, so we got class and attributes. Now let's go over to assertions. There's different types of. There's a soft assert. I'm under advanced. Okay, here's our asserts. I talked about assert, soft assert, hard assert. I've got that actually duplicated, so we'll have to remove that. So we already talked about hard asserts and soft asserts. Other things that your automation framework should be able to do is enabled. Is the element a label? Is it visible? Does it exist? Does it contain some sort of text that we are looking for? If we're pulling text back from the screen from an element that is visible. One of the things we don't really want to do is say exists. It's a bad idea. I should highlight that in red, because exists means it exists in the DOM. It not necessarily be visible to the user. And if it's not visible to the user, you can get a pass fail. That is an issue where you're validating, yes, something's there, but we didn't actually validate that the user could see it. If the user can't see it, you can't validate it as a user. It's going to cause you problems. All right, so those are your basic assertions. So let's go down here to our advanced assertions over here. As I mentioned, soft assert, you should be able to do multiple screen validations. The only time I want to do a hard assert is if I'm trying to click on a button and my self-healing didn't work. So I stop right there because the click button, everything's gone down the tubes. Scroll into view. If you've got a screen that is really big, like this one over here, and something is off the screen, let's say like dynamic date is off the screen, I want to be able to scroll into view. So if I take a screen capture, I have a movie, I can say, yes, it was not just not visible because it wasn't displayed. It was displayed. It just happened to be outside of the view area. I actually know of a tool that recently actually had a screen size that was so small, and I'll show you an example of this. What it would do, let's see, can I show this? I'm going to go and close I get all this stuff in the background over here. I'm going to close that, close that, close that, close that. There you go. Thank you very much in our updates. I'm going to go back over here. So basically, they had a screen size that was so small that it was making things too small to actually interact with, and you would have to have different types of code in order to interact with a drop-down list. I will show you a really good example of this. Let's go to my favorite site, which is my site, Candy Mapper, www.candymapper.com. Let's go over there. So here's candymapper.com, and when it comes up, hello, wake up. I'm not happy about GoDaddy. GoDaddy seems to be a little snoozing today. Come on, buddy. There we go. Took long enough. All right, I'm going to go and close this. So here's an example. You can see up here we have Join Us, British Society, Halloween Party, and more. And if I close this out, at some point it becomes this element, where it is completely different coding that you would have to do to support to being able to see this at the screen. You're like, Paulie, what does that have to do with anything? I've never had that sort of problem. Don't worry, you will. You absolutely will. So what I'm going to do for the moment is I'm going to pop my face over here, clean up my screen, and we are going to go continue with this. I just need to do a little cleaning because I would love to show you my background screen and give you show you, what do automation engineers actually have as their background. And the important thing is what I do is I put this one up on my screen. I'm actually sharing my my big screen, and I'm going to go close all sorts of stuff that I don't need back here, and I can show you exactly. I've got PowerShell. We'll close that out. All right, so we're going to bring this back over here. So you'll notice my background. What is this? What is going on over here? So this is my background that I put on my screen, and I'll even I think I'll share. This is my screen, and it shows me what does the browser look like at different resolutions. So let's go take a look. Let me bring up a, that's not a browser, that is an IDE. Let's go get the Candy Mapper browser. So here's the interesting thing that I do with this is that I can go and drag my browser over to the size, and it is essentially saying, hey, if the browser was opened on a 1600 by 900 size pixel monitor resolution, this is what it would look like. And this down here is just pointing to the full size. This 1920, this is my laptop screen monitor, including the area down here. So if I were to bring that down there, this is what it would look like. If I bring it to this resolution, this is 1366 by 768. That's what it looks like. If I bring it down over here, this is what it looks like. Now, if I get over here to this resolution of 1024 by 768, which is, back when we had square monitors rather than widescreen, this is what it would look like. And you can tell that this is actually now switched in the way it works. And that could cause us a lot of problems. So our assumption is, hey, do we want to test at that resolution that nobody ever uses anymore? That is basically going out to an area to try and make sure everything works for a monitor system that almost nobody ever uses. That's going for 100% of your users to accommodate them, but spending a lot of time to accommodate that 1% that might have that. In fact, here's our smallest screens. You remember back in the day, back in my day, when I first started, we had 800 by 480, and that's what the browser would look like. In fact, let me just double check and see if am I at 100%? There's 100%. Yeah, that's a small thing. But anyway, this is what I do for my testing. If I want to prove to somebody, hey, your screen's going to look kind of bad at some resolution, or something issue is going to go and happen over there. So yeah, that's the days when we had a square monitor. We don't have those anymore. We have wide screen and wider screen stuff. In fact, you can actually see I actually have a bigger monitor, and I'm going to show it to you really quick here. I'll show you my whole monitor, which I don't know, you might be interested in seeing what that is. If I can find my resolution, I'm going to stop sharing over here, get back over to my StreamYard video. Now you see my whole face, and I am going to go and add. I'm going to go share my screen. I'm going to go share my entire screen. This is my wide screen, by the way. So let's go take that to our stage, and you can see what my widescreen looks like. In fact, I'm showing my StreamYard over there. This is my full widescreen. You can tell that the widescreen is 2560 by 1080. And then I like to, throw um, a browser up there just to see, what does it look like at that size. Well, I got a lot. Look at this space, big enough for a Mack truck out there. Oh, well, hey, these are some of my friends. Cool. Anyway, I think I've gotten a little bit off track of what I really wanted to do here during this live session. So I'm going to go switch back over to my other view. And we are going to go add this guy over here, present image. I guess we'll stop the screen. I'll remove this and I will add a different screen over here. Let's see, maybe I just remove. I'm going to go remove this. We will stop screen and I will go add in a share screen and we'll share the original one that I was working on over here, which is this guy. All right, there is my screen. And I'm going to go bring it up to the stage. So there's my original one. We'll move my full browser off of that and go back to what we're looking at to interact with, which was not this guy here. I was going to go back to my WebSim on this whole thing. And where is my WebSim? Where is my WebSim? I got too much junk. I put too much junk up on here. Let me go see if I can bring this back and find the WebSim that I was looking for. Boy, it's great when I kind of do this on the fly and end up losing my my focus. I think it was on my candy mapper. Yes, that's what it was. All right, let me go minimize that. Bring this down here. Yes, we were talking about candy mapper and sizes and all sorts of stuff. So let me get back to our automation features. So we have our assertions. Our basic assertions is we want to make sure things exist and are visible. But at our high level, we want to see if they scroll into play view is what we're talking about. Do we want to do case insensitive validations if the case of the letter changes? Are we going to write a letter on that? We also want to see if we can do substring matches of assertion. We pull back a big string. Did we see a particular, let's say we created an order. Do we see the order number in the string that we pulled back? And of course, using AI to do our assertions, this is very powerful. However, it is eating a lot of tokens. All right, now so Matthias came back and said, Paulie, did you see about Vibium, co-founder of Selenium Appium, have new investment to bring AI closer to automation? Now, Matthias has actually run off at the moment. He didn't have time to hang around. Yes, I'll actually be meeting up with the guys at Selenium and Appium in September. There is the Test Automation Guild in real life in Chicago. You can come meet me. I will be there. I guarantee it. I'm still good friends with Joe Colantonio. Last time I was there, he actually gave me a site, a bit of table space so I could throw stuff up there. So yes, I will be talking to him about Selenium and Appium. Hopefully we get to see a cool demo of that. I'll be talking about Vibium. I will be playing around with that, but I do play around with a whole bunch of tools. You know what the cool thing is that when we have a tool like this over here, and as I said, it is built on with WebSim, and I can ask it to add stuff. One of the things I do is that I can have a whole list of different features out there. Now, this I'm going to share with you and show you what this project actually looks like. This is version 4.2.2. And I was actually building a whole bunch of extra features in here. So I'm going to go over here and say set current. And this is version 695. And if we look at version 695, we'll see over here, I'm going to go over here and do a refresh, and you'll see things change quite a bit. First of all, I add all my platforms and tools over here. Everything that I have ever touched in the last 25 years, ExcelQ, Autify, Autonomous by Applitools, BugBug, every single tool I can think of is there, with the exception of one, and that is what Mateus just talked about, which was Vibium. All right, so let me show you how this kind of works. So what I'm going to do with the AI is I'm going to say, can you please uh, add Vibium to the platform list. And I'm going to go and share that. So it's going to go and do that. And you'll see in the upper left-hand corner, it is actually chugging away, doing all these things. It is talking about what it's going to do. It says I added it and it refreshed. And let's go take a look. And I told it should be alphabetical. So down here we should have, there's Vibium. I don't think I spelled it correctly. Did he spell it correctly? Let me see. IUM. All right. Rename Vibium. Yep. I couldn't spell it the right 3 times. Vibium to Vibium. Vibium. Now, let me see if I could just go and edit the code over here. That might be the better way of doing this. I believe I've got that feature. View data, project settings, URL, full page, remix, download. I know there's a way that I can go and let me take a look at my main over here and see if I can go find Vibe, VIB, next. Next. There's Vibium. I'm going to go and see if I can edit this. And can I do it? Vibe, VIBE. Hey, dude, don't go messing with Vibium. And over on the left-hand side, look at that. Vibium, Vibium. Vibium. Yep. All right, I got that there. So now I got Vibium listed over here. Now, do I have to do a save? Yeah, I'm going to do a save. We'll do that. We save all that. So I didn't actually have to go and ask the AI to do that. This is essentially a manual edit that's been done over here. It's version 697. Now let's go take a look at our checklist over here. Vibium isn't even listed up here. I'm going to hit the refresh over here. Do we get Vibium in here? Because it's Vibium isn't in here. Why is that not? Why? Because we don't have this version set as the current version. 697. I'm going to set that as our current version. And then I'm going to go back over to our checklist and we are going to go and hit a refresh. And now we should have Vibium listed and spelled correctly on the left-hand side. Cool. Now, this is my more recent version of all of this. I've gone through about half of these things here. Added a few more features as I have been going along to this through this framework over here, this little cheat sheet list. And you can see that I've added a lot more things that, into the basic actions, assertions, and element stuff of your element classes. Let's move on and talk a little bit more about different things. The frameworks that we should be able to support. Well, at the very basic, HTML, React, and .NET are the kind of the 3 things that kind of jump out at me that, hey, this should be able to work with this tool stack that is being used for the application or test. By the way, the programming language that you use doesn't necessarily have to match whatever the application language is. Let's go under advanced. What do you need? You might want to support Vue, Angular, and Svelte are the other 3 frameworks that I can think of. If there's others that I am missing out there, please let me know, and we'll do that, talk about that. Mateus is back, jumped in. I'm not sure if he sees me or not because I don't see him over there, but here we go. Jason Huggins says he needs more time to code. I need the test community. I know the test community hates me, but if you guys need, I am a volunteer. Mateus, why don't you just hop on a plane, come over to Chicago, and you and me will go hold Jason down on the ground and make him do more time for coding. We'll do that in September, you and me. We'll tag team him, and sounds Sounds good. Why does the test community hate you? We don't hate you. Man, who hurt you, man? Who hurt you? Come on. I know a guy. I used to work on another team, and they this was the most fun team I ever worked with because it was the developers and the QA. We worked really hard, close together. We had daily meetings, and every day the QAs would yank my chain, and after a couple of days, they would say, I'm like, guys, who hurt you? And he's like, it was a QA engineer. He killed my father. I'm like, what? Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm like, yeah, my dad died on Kittimer. And if it weren't for time travel, a lot of us would not be here. Anyway, they appreciated that, except for one guy who said, yeah, that's a Star Trek joke. I like Star Wars. I'm like, okay, great. Can't please this guy. But a whole bunch of fun people, fun job. I wish it was still around, but things move on, as we should as well. So let me go back over here. I'm gonna go and share this a larger version of this screen over here, and take a look what I've added on this since we've been talking. And there's been a couple of different versions that have gone here. I thought it would be a good idea to have a list of all the platforms and tools that are available, at least that I know of, in automation. So let's go take a quick look and a rundown of everything that's available in our test automation field. You got ExcelQ, Atom, Autify, Autonomous by Applitools, Bug, Chromatic, that says Contact. I think it's it's context. Let's go fix that because it is context QA. So I'm going to go back over here, and I am going to go over to my manual edit, and we are going to go, I believe it is, I think we just click on the JS over here, and we're going to do a find contact QA, and we're going to change that to that is context. Okay, context QA, you can find them. I will save that, and I will make this version the current version. And if I go back over here, we saw contact QA. If I hit a refresh, we should see context QA. Cool. There's our context QA. Plus we've seen Cypress. Cypress is listed in there twice, so we can get rid of Cypress. Let me go over and fix that as we are going along. I'm going to go jump on this guy over here. Fine. Cypress. This is the Cypress. We're going to go get rid of this because all we need is Cypress. We'll save that, and we'll go make this our current. Almost 700 revisions I've done on this list. Can you believe it? Oh my gosh. Eggplant, Functionize, Harness, Gina, Kane AI, Perforce, Playwright, Puppeteer, QA Wolf, QMetry, Quality, Bueller, Quality. What's Quality? Quality. Okay. We're gonna get quality, but quality. I have no idea what I had for the idea for quality. We'll come back to it. Ranorex, Reflect, Repise, Test Collab IO, Test Complete. We got Testers AI, and then we got Test Him, Testing On, Test Rigger, Test Sigma, Tosca, Functionize, Vibium, we just added in there, Wopy, and Zaptest. So those are a whole list of your automation frameworks that are out there. One of the other things I added this was, first of all, we should have this essentially be a check boxes for things that can do. Let's say SLQ probably can do Windows and Chrome. And if I go to Atom, that clears out. If I go back to ExcelQ, you know what? It should remember this, and it is not. So I'm going to go back over here and say check boxes should be Um, permanent should be remembered um, per platform tool. Uh, persisted. Let's use the word. It should be persisted. Persisted. Okay. Per platform tool. And I'm going to go and let it do that and see if it can chug away and do this little feature for me so that I can actually, I did have this running. I should have gone and checked it, that I can go and say, hey, this is going to be assigned for XLQ. Um, I wonder if I should have the name XLQ automation features. We should put the name of what is up there because there is no save. It should be a implicit save. And if I go to Audify and I say Firefox and iOS, and then I go back to this, it should not just clear it. It should remember these items. So it comes back over here, and it is just finishing up the feature because we had it in there. I had it working. So if I go to XLQ and I go this, and I go to Audify and I do this, if I go back to XLQ, it remembers what it should be. That's the way, and Audify should remember it as well. Cool. So I'm going to go and make this current version. I'm going to come back over here, do a refresh, and if I do XLQ, I've got, oh, look at that. It actually remembers all that stuff. So I'm going to go and set this up. So this is a nice little thing that kind of I can set up to remember. The thing is, I think I might want to set up to different people. All right, to individual users. If you log in, I should be able to read the screen that you're from and get the check boxes and stuff that you have, because I could be wrong on stuff. People could add more features. One other thing you'll also notice in my list here is that there's an information box that pops up and says, hey, this is what I'm describing. Almost every single one of these has one. If anywhere it says NA, not of or TBD, to be determined, then it will give you that. So it means that I have to go back and edit it. In fact, I think I know a quick way of finding that out is that I could go to JavaScript, do a TBD, and see if we find anything. TB, yeah, there's no TBD in here. So every one of these items here listed does have a little bit of information to explain what it does. All right, let's see what else we got. We've got our frameworks that we should be able to support. Our frameworks should, HTML, React, and .NET, and on our advanced version, Vue, Angular, and Svelte. Let's move on to our other stuff over here. Our navigation. We have go to, input, select. We've already covered that. So we are on to, we've already covered element class, element attributes. We already covered that. Weights. We have weights. All right. So the weights are, you can have hard-coded, dynamic, or like a network idle, which is part of Playwright, determining when the page is ready. What else do we have? CI/CD, smoke, sanity, regression. Oh, and let's go look at the weight for the advanced weight. The advanced weight, we have pause the browser, waiting for pause browser, some feature that says, hey, I need to somehow activate a pause while this test is running so I could actually maybe capture some data or see what's going on. I definitely want to look at, see if a spinner is up there. That's usually custom to every single customer over here, specifically waiting for visual loading indicators to vanish. Loading, same thing, waiting for loading text or overlay to disappear. Page state. And the page state is, for specific applications, lifecycle states. It says page, yeah, that's my custom, custom one, waiting for the number of elements in there. However, the main thing to keep an eyeball out for this is, as we were talking about, was to watch out for the pop-ups, because the toast messages. So I think I should add in toast messages into this. Toast message escape uh, or capture. I think that would probably be a good thing to add under our advanced data over here. I'm going to go back and see if we can close this out, and we'll go back and edit this. Add toast message capture to advanced wait. We'll do that, and we'll see what it comes up with, if it actually has some sort of information. You notice as I'm adding these, the AI is actually adding descriptions and info in there. So let's go take a look and see what it did. Let's see. We are looking under wait. We have toast message capture, and what did it say? Detecting and injecting with ephemeral. Who uses that word? Ephemeral notification pop-ups that appear and disappear automatically. That's pretty close to what I want, but not quite. So I'm going to go edit this. I want to go and over to my JavaScript, over to my main, and we are looking for ephemeral. Seriously? Is that now I spell it ephemeral? Let me go look at our advanced not speed. We are on toast message capture. Oh, let's go to toast. TOAST. Should get at least 2 hits on that. Oh, it's because it's looking on this screen, not over here. Let's go ahead and try that. EPH, ephemeral. Next. Let's go find ephemeral. There it is. There's our toast message detecting and interacting with ephemeral notes that appear or disappear automatically. Detecting and capturing ephemeral notifications. Pop-up messages. Pop-up messages that appear not automatically, but for a time that appear and disappear, that appear for a short amount of time, for a limited amount of time. So the reason I bring this up over here, let's say this, is that one of the things you might be doing is you're waiting for the page to be stable, but you're also getting a pop-up message. And the next step might be to validate the pop-up message. You might have to capture the pop-up message and put it into a queue so that you can go and validate that this thing actually appeared. And if you see it, you might have to do a screen capture to add to that to prove that it was there, because by the time you're moving on to the next step, the pop-up message is gone. Who wants that? That's not a, you want a good solid framework, and that's why it's in the advanced section. All right, I'm going to go and make this our current. I will go over here to our checklist. We will go and refresh this, and we have all of our stuff here. Cool. All right, let's go on and take a look at what else we've got in the basic. We had our weights. Now we'll talk a little bit about speed. So our basic, under our basic speed, we want headless mode, so that you don't have to spend a whole bunch of time rendering the page, but you do want to be able to do a screen capture and a video of that page. It actually works. They can do it. I don't know how in the world that happens. I really have to research this and see if maybe it actually goes into headed mode when it's trying to record the video. I would love to kind of find out a little bit about that, if there's a speed difference in that. Usually you want to run headless, okay? And if it fails, you rerun headed. And then you've got the screen captures and all the paths that go through. Hopefully, cross your fingers, it's not some sort of one-off, or maybe you do want to have a one-off, because there's not much you can do about a one-off where it failed the first time for the network dropped out, the database was done over, you ran the test at 1 o'clock in the morning and the entire website was down because they're pushing out updates when there's no traffic on the system. I get that. The other thing about speed is parallel execution, and that could be in two different ways. One, you could be doing a parallel execution of multiple browsers, the same test on a whole bunch of browsers, and or you could have a whole bunch of virtual machines, each one of which running one or more test cases. So that's your whole thing there. There's also CI/CD. So we've got that for speed. Now, what's under the advanced speed system over here? Advanced speed, you might want to be checking this, monitoring how much RAM you've got, how much CPU. This is more performance testing at this point. You've got headless versus headed mode, browser context reuse. This can save time by opening sessions between tests. I don't think that's actually quite the good description the AI gave. It's more that you don't have to go and log in over and over and over again. You can use a browser context that says, hey, I already logged in once, so use it again and open up another browser over there. Thing to watch out for this is, does your application prohibit you from logging in multiple times as the exact same user? If that's a problem, then there's different ways that you have to handle that, and you would have to have some way. You know what? I should add that. We should add that probably under data. Let's go over to data. I'm going to go add that. Add multiple test user accounts. Under multiple. I don't know if it would probably correct the spelling. Test user accounts. Under data with single login account restrictions. Single login account restriction for AUT application under test. We'll go do that, and we'll add that under data because what's data is coming up next. We'll go over to that. All right, so what else we got over here? Our speed, what else? Headed versus a locator cache. This is a beautiful thing. What does it say? Storing element addresses to speed up repeated lookups. So yes, this comes in handy when we are looking at the why is that red? Oh, yeah, why is that? Why are these red and these are blue? I have no idea. Interesting. Is it the color? It's the color of the item. Okay. It shouldn't be. All checkboxes should be green. Let's go add that in there. We'll say all boxes should be green. Boom. Can I add that in there? Come back to this. All right. So what else we got for speed? A locator cache. That's when you're using self-healing code, and the locator for an element has been found. You don't have to go through that code a second time. You should just try and store the locator that worked in a cache, and then reuse it first. And if it can't find that, then go back and go through the code. Say, hey, this is what I originally was looking for. Can I find it now? Highlighting and screen capture, definitely. You don't need highlighting the first time you go through unless you're doing a validations. I always recommend doing validations on anything that you're validating text on, just so you can say, hey, this is exactly what I saw when I went out there. All right, we got another viewer. He is coming in on YouTube. Hi. Big shout out to you. If there's any comments, I've got Mateus is back for a few things. So let me go check on what he's doing. He's kind of bouncing in and out. So Mateus says some data can be useful to evidence. Console, network, and session from browsers, screen capture, GIF, and video. It's yep, Mateus. It's there. He's watching in from LinkedIn, by the way. Um, so if you're on LinkedIn, you're watching this, you can chat with me. We've been going for about an hour and 10 minutes covering all the different automation features. Am I sharing this? Am I going full screen? Yeah, am I going full screen? Am I going full screen? Yes, I'm sorry. Just checking. I don't know. I seem to kind of zonk on that. All right. So he says, yeah, useful for evidence, console, network sessions, screen capture, GIF, video for debugging. Absolutely. That's not useful. I'm going to say useful. I'm going to say it's required. If your tool can't do it, you that you take a pass. um, and also movie recording and cleanup. That's the most important thing. If you're doing movies and you're recording movies, it takes up space on your cloud environment. They may be charging you for that space. Keep in mind that your runs, your test runs, your regression runs, your smoke tests, you may have to hold on to that 5-7 years, something like that. When you're doing your debugging runs, you don't need to hold on to that. You can hold on to it for maybe 2 weeks max, because by the time the developers release another version of the application in the next sprint, all that stuff is useless. It's meaningless. It's not anything that you need as you go along. You want to just preserve the test runs, but not for the stuff in your QA debugging sessions. They can be out the door. We don't care. All right, so important cleanup. You want to also be, that's money stuff going on here. So let me go jump back over here and see if all the checkboxes should be green. So I'm going to go and make this our current version. I'm going to come back over here and we're going to hit a refresh and see what we get. Now we're having our issue was underneath our speed. Let's see what speed. Green, 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 green. Oh, I love it. That's a beautiful thing. All right. So we've got that going on. And also another thing I put in here was a pricing preset. So some of these tools, I know how they're listed, how they are set up. So I can click on fixed per use site, per use seat. I know Tricentis and Ranorex do that. This is completely editable. My test app, and I could do that. And now the thing was, we wanted to know, who are we on? We don't know at the moment. So I'm going to say that we want to have the platform tool append the platform tool name to the, what we're going to call it, to the automation features text. We'll do that. To the automation features text header text. Append the platform tool name to the automation features header text. So we'll say, just to show it what it means, platform tool. I will put this in 2 squirrely brackets. There we are, some squirrely brackets right there. Platform tool automation features. Let's do that. And we'll come back. We'll let that chug away as we're going, and we'll come back over to that. So so there's our high-end speed on that. What's our next thing we're going to go to in this? We did assertions, we did weight, we did speed. So we're up to the next one, CI/CD organization. CIDs, continuous integration and organization. So first of all, you want to be able to do your smoke test. So usually that's like 10% of your test. You want to be able, within a few minutes, touch every major feature that's out there and do that. Now, Mateus has jumped in back in over here. He's made a question over here. He says maybe a health check before the start of the test as well, checking network, databases, APIs. I like that. That's a grand idea. So I think that is, yeah, I think I'll put that under advanced. So Mateus, you get a shout out. We're going to go and see if I can copy what you said, and we'll put that in there. Let's see if the checklist is done checking around. Well, let's see. Beavis automation. Oh, cell queue. There we go. Adam, Audify. I love it. Okay, so the next thing is that Matthias said, "Hey, we should have a health check." Where will we do that? Basic AI, advanced. Wonder where we should put that under, or does it get its own category? Let's put it under advanced assertions, I think. Advanced security, advanced assertions. Here's our advanced assertions. At the top of the advanced assertion list, add. We'll put this in here. We'll put in a health check. Health check. All right. Okay. We'll call that a startup health check with network, database, API, ECT. Yeah, I don't like ECT. If you know what it is, add it. If something's missing, add it. We'll say and API checks. It would be great if something fails. Don't test that area. Just report it as not working. All right. So advanced. We'll do that. I'm going to add that in there. Thank you to Theus. He is already impacting this list for the better. I like that. All right. So that looks to be like it completed that. And there's our API health check, network, databases, and API checks. Cool. So we've added that under our assertions. All right, let's keep going. I will go back over here. We'll make that our current version. We'll come back over here for our checklist. We'll do a restart. And we can add different things over here. So let's, what else we've got over here? Multiple tiers, accounts. Let's see. We are under advanced. We hadn't even gotten the data yet. So we got speed, locator cache. We already took care of that. We were working on a CI/CD organization. So prioritization of our stuff. Our high impact tests get set first for fastest feedback, retry, flake, detection. So it will retest the test, retry the test at least once. I would say, if you try and do it 3 times, if it didn't, instead of doing it retry 2 times, try this instead. See if you can adjust your framework to do this. You have, let's say, and this is a real world example, you have 10 tests, right? You got 10 tests that are running, and during the day they all pass. But when you have them in the CI/CD and they run at about 11:30, when it hits midnight, the middle ones start to fail, and they're failing for about 5 minutes, and the last 2 work. The problem you got there is that most likely at midnight, the system is resetting, it's doing updates, and you've scheduled your test cases just to run at a time that you just don't want to have them run. So what you want to do is, what I like to do is, not instead of running the one test case a second time immediately, if you can set this up, have it run at the end of the whole test case. I should have done 8. 8 would have been better. All right, let's try that again. I've got let's do this example here. I've got 8 test cases, and guess what? 1, 2, and 3. Let's do it the other way because it's reverse. 1, 2, and are passing. 4 and 5 are failing. 6, 7, and 8 are passing. So what you want to do, instead of having the middle, the failing two test cases, let's put this over here on the screen so we can actually kind of see it. Instead of immediately rerunning the test, do the test so that if this one fails, then do it at the end of the run. So get it? If this one fails, let the next one fail, whatever fails, and then rerun them at the end, not immediately one right after another. Rerun your failed tests at the end of the sub, because you might be having a little glitch, a little it's just, either the systems are down or even the network blink. The internet, 99.9%, you guaranteed as a QA guy, you're going to experience that the internet blinked for a moment. And there's nothing you can do about that. You just, all you can do is rerun the test. If it fails a second time, yeah, log that sucker and say, hey, that's good. But try to put time between the first failed run and the retest on that, instead of doing it. Let's do it 3 times. Okay, it's failed, it failed, it failed. That doesn't help. All right, so that should probably be in a delayed on there. It might be on my advanced version. So test sharding. That's setting up multiple virtual machines and having the test cases run on all those so that they can run in parallel. You should also be able to identify test cases that need to run in serial. Have everything run in parallel unless you find something that's running that one test case is impacting another test case. Everyone says that should never happen. That's great. What's your solution? Well, it should never happen. I don't like people who say that. I understand it should never happen. You should have a solution. A solution is good. Always like the solution. You can also take, what tools do you have out there? Sauce Lab, Browser Stack, GitLab are 3 that we can look at to say, hey, this is tools that we don't want to use. You know what? Who would really be good on this one would also be Lambda Test, which is now TestMu. I think it's on our advanced one. So let's go take a look. Oh, that was our advanced. CI/CD organization was over here. Let me apologize to those guys. Yeah, we're talking about smoke test, 10%. Sanity test is the next 20%. 20 and 10 is 40. The next 60% is your regression, the full thing. Show me where there's issues in the whole thing and anything that's brand new. Search, doing search tests, end-to-end testing. Are your next kind of areas, breaking down what areas most likely may have an issue. Marking test cases as work in progress, which means if they're whipped, they do not execute. Okay, we got eyeballs back. Somebody else is looking over here. Who is it? Off of YouTube. Thank you very much for joining in. I believe from YouTube you may be able to chat with me. So here's Mateus, who was chatting and talking about this. So I'm going to go back over here and I'm going to star that. So we are good. This is the channel we are looking at, and that person is gone. Okay, no big deal. And we have GitHub and TestMu under the basic CI/CD organization. And then under our advanced version, prioritization, what's going to lose us the most amount of money first. Flaky retry, test sharding, we talked about that's under advanced. Tagging and labeling test runs, different types of areas or specific areas that we're looking for just to run those kinds of tests. We got Sauce Labs and Browser Stack and GitLab out there, which has advanced CI/CD pipeline integration specifically for GitLab environments. So cool. All right, so we got through CI/CD organization. Next up is data. So first of all, hard-coded data in red, marked off over here. We do not want embedded data. Discouraged. Not a good idea because it's hard to maintain, update. You want to have separation of concerns. We should actually say under that ID, separation of concerns. Your variables You want to have variables that can use dynamic values instead of the static embedded ones. You definitely want to mask your passwords if you're interacting with them. Don't let them be visible in logs. In fact, masks should be stored in a vault in your system. It should never be embedded in your Git in your Git repo. In fact, Git, I think now actually does searches in there. It says, "Hey, this looks suspiciously like a password. You probably don't want to commit it to me." Using environmental variables. This allows you to change data on the fly from inside your local test automation testing system, your laptop, the one that I am looking at right now. When I'm looking at systems in directly in testing my code directly from my system. Test fixtures and static JSON so you can mock or predefine data for our test cases, and then multiple test user accounts, which we just talked about and added in there for single login account restrictions for the application under test. So that's under your basic data. Let's go take a look at what's available under your advanced data. So beyond all that stuff, database query searches. So looking for any database that we can search for, or even getting data back by doing a SQL. Good tip for any automation architect. By the way, you have to have many hats. One of the best things that you do need to take at least a basic course is database. Know how to do database queries and how to do a merge, to pull from two different databases at the same time. And that's I'll add that in there shortly. Okay, we have another eyeball watching over here again from YouTube. Thanks for watching. We are looking through a list of everything that I can think of that you need to know as a test automation architect, and putting into a list, and you can take a look at it on my checklist URL, which is right down here. Check it out. All right. So other things you want to do, seed and tear down strategies. So setting up data and cleaning up your data after your test case runs instead of filling up the database for with stuff like that. Faker and synthetic test data generation over there for unique or randomized test data on the fly. You also have to know a little bit about regex in order to kind of generate that. Multi-environment configuration management. Again, that kind of ends up, I think, more under CI/CD, but able to test against dev, staging, and production if you have 3 or at least 2. I mentioned getting your credentials should come from a vault, sourcing secrets from secure storage like a HashiCorp vault, and then capturing user bearer tokens so that you can reuse auth tokens from network requests to make things go a little bit better and faster for your login and increasing your test cases. All right, what are we up to next? Custom code. Custom code is over here. Let's go over to custom code on our side over here. We go. So if you're working with a test automation tool that is codeless, at some point you might need something that the codeless tool doesn't do. This is absolutely mandatory as you in your basic thing. You should have some way of writing some custom code, such as TypeScript, to go and interact with your browser and do something unique that has to be done. One thing I remember working with a customer was that they needed to know how much of a video had been played out, because they would have people take test cases and you had to watch the video. And if you didn't watch more, then if you watched 40% of the video or less, you didn't get a little green check mark as having to do it. You didn't just go and say play, stop, green. It had to be 40%. But how to figure that out? You had to know how much of the video was playing, and that was only described internally on the website, not visibly to the user. It was only internally. So we had to actually write some custom Java TypeScript in order to go and interact with the browser to find out how much had been done, looping over. Yes, we got more. Cool. Was it less? We got a different message. All right, cool. that's something kind of custom over there. Your tools should be able to, at the very least, do. And of course, custom code, page object model, being able to describe your locators in a page object model that is associated with the page that you are currently are working with. So your elements are listed over here. Your test case is a page is interacting over here, and those two are meshing together. And you might have something that is common to every single page. What do I mean by that? I guess I could go back over to Candy Mapper and show you that some of these elements over here um, only exist on this particular page, right? Like this slider over here. However, the top and the bottom are identical on every page. It has these elements here. So this is basically common to every page that's on there. So you want to have those as common uh, page elements in a common page area, separate from an individual page where elements are out there. Okie dokie, let's get back over to this list and kind of get into the home stretch over here. So there's your custom code, and then in our advanced custom code, having custom commands and helpers in there. So I like to write my own version of click and select so that I embed dynamic weights and other items into that, and watching for spinners when we go along. There's also third-party library integrations that come in play in that. Let's take a look, such as for reporting or databases like Allure, or integrating with different types of database. You should definitely be able to do that on advanced. Passing values in and out of JavaScript, that's very similar to the first one I said. And having test script and browser side JavaScript, being able to have the browser save a value, and then have your application, your automation tool or platform be able to read or be passed a value to it. So I've seen a few tools that do that, and that's definitely on the advanced level. So we're up to reporting. Let's go take a look at our reporting. Here we are. At the very least, you should be console logging some stuff out. Something I found when I used to work in UFT, Windrunner, not Windrunner so much, I don't think I got that, but UFT, QGP, I like to send stuff to the console, except it was really heavy on the CPU. The more stuff I put out to the console so I could debug in real time in front of me, the slower the whole thing went. And I started getting into a bit of a rabbit hole. How much information do I have to put out there? What can I start pulling back? This is, my experience, not the case with JavaScript. JavaScript, TypeScript is really, really fast at putting out stuff to the console. The best idea I can tell you is that maybe not console log everything when you're running in Playwright, when you're running in CI/CD is what I really meant to say, and having the information just being sent to a reporter. You can also have notifications such as email, but I'm not a really big fan of email anymore. Notifications should be going to some sort of channel like YouTube. I'm not YouTube. Going to a channel such as Slack, if you've got that, and then you can monitor that channel to see if there's anything that's going on. I have always found that very useful to find defects and issues and be notified immediately that something is going sideways. Guys, jump on this and tell me what you need to know. I got another eyeball viewer from YouTube. Thank you very much. We're going through the list of features that you need for an automation framework or tool. Of course, you want screen captures on failures so that you can see exactly what was going on when this was done. Let's go over to reporting on the advanced side. Advanced, well, you should have historical trend databases. Let me go to Google, and let's take a look at historical trend, and we'll go with Allure over here. And if we go to that, we should go get to images, and I'll show you an example of what this looks like. Right here is a great example over here. We can see, let me go to this page and see an example of this. Boy, you had a whole bunch over here. There we go. There's a good example. Let me see if I can. Wow, that's even smaller than what I was looking for. Um, well, anyway, this is your trend. This is how many test cases. Looks like they had 8 test cases that had been built and run day by day. And then all of a sudden, they had one day where they added another 10 test cases. The next day, they added, looks like about 2 more test cases, but they were incomplete. So they were not actually executed. So everything was passing, and this was not executed. That's okay. But what I really prefer to see is something that is showing me, I don't know what the hell shows this. This is a good one. Oh, I like this one over here. All right, so over here we have an indication of what our trends are. Let's see if I can get to, I'll go to the view, see if I can get a better view. We'll accept all those, a better view of this. Let's go find that picture. Come on, buddy. There we are. That's a good view. And it shows all sorts of different categories and how well they are doing in the Allure report, in the trending. So we can see that, hey, there were 5 failing test cases back on the first run, and it looks like it's test 47. By the 48th run, the tests have gotten lower. We got more passing test cases. Something went kind of haywire. We had a lot of warnings on the next run, but they kind of cleared themselves off. However, the errors were increasing. The errors seem to be straight lining over here, and the warnings were getting worse. Overall, we're getting more test cases being added in here, so that's cool. The gray area, a lot more test cases were added, and it's thinning out because there are actually less test cases that are not being shown. So that's a good example of what you're looking for on that that checklist when we're talking about reporting, such as historical trends. Using different reports like HTML report or Allure. I love Allure. There's, I mean, not much else close to it, but if you can find it, go for it, man. Test management such as test rail and X-ray, and of course notifications. I said Slack Teams is also a good way to have a chat that says a Teams channel that says, hey, things are going great or sideways. So next we're going to go into security. And we only have 2 more things to mention in security. So that's advanced security. We want basic security. Where's my basic security? It's on my left-hand side over here. Basic security. You should be able to have a login and logout flow. Just to start off, make sure our credentials are not stored anywhere. Make sure your password is masked. A protected route redirect. Verifying users are redirected if they try to access private pages that they're not allowed to access. So you definitely have to have different types of users available to do that. A type of user, and name your user the name of the type of user. Don't just call it tester A, tester B. Call them what they are. So protected route read. Oh, we got that. Session timeout expiring. I don't know if this is necessary, but I'm going to admit it, that AI added that one thinking it was a great idea. I don't think so, but I suppose you could set up a test like that. A remember me behavior, making sure that our authentication persists across sessions. The only downside of that is most times when you're running a test case with a browser, the first thing you do is clear the cache. So I don't know that that's actually going to work all that well. Failed. I mean, that might be not a unit test, a smoke test might do, but okay. Failed login user. Make sure that we don't give hints to our messages. Specific, or see that our specific messages are out there. Not that this email does not exist, or it's just that these credentials do not work. It may be that the email doesn't exist. But don't give that hint out to people who are trying to hack your system. That's not good. Ensuring tests run over secure connections, HTTPS and SSL. Definitely want to have that if you're running secure information on your site. Let's go to advanced security. There is just a ton of this. Make sure you can't do SQL injection input. No XSS input attempts by injecting malicious scripts. um, CSFC. There are tools out here specifically for this. I did ask the AI to add anything that I might have been missing. This was a whole section that it added. I don't really have a whole lot of security, penetration, pen test tools that are listed here, and we'll definitely have to add that. Maybe have a divider that says, "Hey, yeah, you can do this." Auth token expiration, yeah, absolutely. Role based access. Again, I'm not a security guy, so this is actually good stuff to be learning and getting a little bit more familiar. Make sure the users see only what they are allowed to see. Um, Privilege escalations, the users can't give themselves admin rights. Only the admin can give someone an admin right. Uh, API endpoint authorization 401, 403, meaning that APIs are rejected, requests are rejected, either because you're not allowed or you are allowed, but you are not authorized on that. Sensitive data is not in the URL or the logs. Credentials are sourced from a vault. That says TBD. So there's one of our TBDs. I should have seen that when I was doing a search. So let me go back over here for a moment and go into JavaScript and do a find. Make sure I am over here, find, and find TBD. How many did I actually have in there? There's one. Okay, next. So TBD is in here if we don't have an item explanation. So I think what I'm looking for is double quotes. So it looks for double quotes, any double quotes. I'm not sure exactly how that works. So it automatically puts in TBD if it is not listed in there. I'm not a fan of that because I can't figure out which ones actually have TBD in there. So I'll have to do that. I might tell this. Let's go tell it. I want to edit that. If I info is TBD, highlight in red. How about that? Just shh. Why don't you just tell me the name of the information that you don't have? I'll let that chug away. We'll come back to it. And then now we should be able to see exactly what those guys are. All right. What else we got here? Security headers, CSP, X-frame, verifying the presence of protective HTTP headers, and prevent an accidental account logout. So if you identify that the login did not work, I mean, you should test that the login should not work at least once. But if your test is specifically supposed to log in, you should have a single location where it says, "Hey, we're about to lock out the account," and maybe stop the test of doing this before it locks out the entire account, and then blows an hour of your time trying to get a hold of your IT company and say, "Hey, something happened. The account got locked out. Can we change the password or reset the password?" One other thing you might want to talk to your IT account is that your test accounts should not be locked out. It should say, "Hey, don't." I understand normal users, if they get the password in wrong 3 times in a row, lock them out. For our test accounts, please do not do that. Do not lock them out for like a day or something like that. And usually you talk to your IT security people and they're like, "Okay, understandable. We don't want to be holding off QA testing for a whole day," because who gets yelled at? IT security, not usually the QA people, for finding that issue. We want to be able to do our job and do it as effective and efficiently. If we do not, basically the bottom line is your company is losing money and losing customers to your competitors, and nobody wants that. What are we left with? AI, our newest feature that's out here. So let's go to our basic AI things that you want to be able to have your automation test do. I don't even say any of this is that basic. This is all advanced. But one, you want to see if AI can generate test cases, especially if you've got gap analysis. There are areas that you've got requirements that there are no tests, or there are areas AI is okay at finding gap analysis. thinking of what test cases should be included in there. When you're doing a login, there's about 7 different things that you can test with a login, not just, yeah, the login credentials got me in, or login credentials did not get me in. Natural language, NLP, natural language processing. This is where you're writing test cases in plain English instead of code. I like that. I'm a big fan of that. Generating test data with your AI, self-healing elements, having the locators adapt to UI changes automatically. I do like to bake this into my framework first before spending a bunch of tokens to have the AI go and do it. You've got visual AI, computer vision, letting the AI kind of look at the screen and tell you what you've got. I've seen one tool that does this, so keep an eye out for that. Actually, I should say 2. There's 2 of them that do this that I know of, and I definitely want to be able to identify that. Flakiness and reduction in dynamic weight. So you've got reducing the flakiness by having. I actually wrote dynamic weights years ago. For the last 15 years, I've written code in almost every tool, every language on how to do a dynamic weight. The thing is I never knew if I had written it effectively, efficiently, and I like having AI go and review it and giving me some alternates, or identifying, hey, is there anything that I could do that's better? I'm not saying it's going to say it's creative, but it does take a good look at it and gives me alternate options, which I can test. All right, we are down to our last item, our AI, our advanced things, having an autonomous root cause analysis, telling why it failed from logs and screenshots. One of the things that are out there today is the capability of having a this is Mateo's list. I'm going to go over to my project and take a look at my repositories. Here's my Connective RX. Where's the one that I was most recently updating? Updated this one 2 days ago. And the branching protective, that's okay. I don't care. It is a private one over here. I am looking for, let me go to my GitHub desktop. Where is my GitHub desktop? It decided to pop up down here. So I'm looking at Java Fundamentals. Java Fundamentals project, but not exactly what I'm actually looking for. Recent was enhanced automation. I guess Java Fundamentals is the project I'm looking for. My history has stuff I did yesterday. I merged all this stuff. What I am trying to find is let's see. Let me take a look. New feature review for this 2 days ago. Let me go to open show view on GitHub. And essentially what I'm talking about is that you can have AI review the branches that are in here. I got 2 branches in here. And I'm going to go to this branch, I believe an active branch, new feature. And I should be able to, under here, do a review. I'm doing a review. Actually, it's a pull request that I'm looking for. There's my pull request. I do one pull request. I'm going to go over here, and there's 2 comments listed here. And who commented on this? Who commented? Copilot commented on it. And it basically says, hey, what I was doing is I was removing this thread sleep release over here. And it says, that's probably not a good idea. You should be able to fix it. You can fix it with Copilot. I could also copy this and put this into my VS Code. Let's see if I've got VS Code up and running over here. Yes, I do. And I could go over to my AI and paste this in here and say this, and then let my AI in my code interpret what's doing. By the way, there is a level of smartness even in the same AI. There you go. Let's say, okay, we'll sign in and we'll let this chug. This is having issues. Let's try again. Maybe I used up all my tokens on that, but essentially you can, yeah, have a chat and paste in what you want, what the AI fix. And keep in mind, there are 3 different levels of Copilot. This is all Copilot that is doing this. I'm going to bring Copilot up over here, and I did have a previous chat. Let's see if I can find my previous chats. I think this is what I was chatting on from Friday. Projects. I want my previous chats. Open the sidebar. Okay, chats, projects, discovery. I want my history. Sending, live stream on Screamers. I had a chat over here, live streams, and I cannot seem to find it. I know I am boring everybody as I've been sitting here talking for almost 2 hours, and we're almost done. I'm going to go and ask it one more time. We'll do a new chat and say, I find Copilot seems to be less intelligent depending on if I access it from GitHub review, VS Code chat, and Windows chat. Thoughts? And we'll do that. And we'll see what it has to say. And it says, yes, not imagining it. Copilot feels more intelligence in different places. This is actually true. Copilot is actually doing it. Not only does it tell you the strengths and weaknesses of this in different environments, it will also tell you how you can make the experience better. If you want the smartest Copilot experience for coding, do this. Can I revise the Copilot in VS Code to be a little smarter, like Copilot review in GitHub? Do that. The last time I ran this, it actually did it automatically and said, would you like me to do this? And it says, here's a couple tricks that you can do, is to give it the same kind of structure context. And it will say, turn on the workplace agent. So if I go to workspace agent, let's go over to code over here. I could just say, turn on to the workspace agent, except right now it's kind of not working for me. So I'd love to find out what the heck is going on here. And I don't have time to go ask the AI to do that, but definitely turn on workspace agent. So I can go to command palette, Copilot, enable workspace content. So let's go we'll do this is Shift Control P, which is the pilot, workspace. Let's see. Let's do Copilot. What did it say? Workspace. Workspace. Cancel. Confirm. Clear. Enable. Asking Copilot workspace. Copilot enable workspace. I'll just copy that and put that in the Shift Control P for the palette. Put that in there. Enable workspace. Toggle. Enable all extensions in this workspace. Enable workspace context. Yes. And again, it's giving me some feedback saying that's filling around there. Probably don't have enough tokens in order to do that. And it gives us other recommendations on how to do this. All right. Um, so yeah, tons of extra things that you can do to make the workspace better when you're working in Visual Studio Code. All right, what do we got left? We have our last little bit, and we've added a few things. We've gotten some things over here. We haven't had any other responses over here, so I want to thank Mateus for his input. Let me get back over to our little checkbox. This is I believe, the old one. This is not the one we are looking for. We want this guy over here. Yep. And our last thing for advanced AI, looking for, let's see, intelligent test prioritization using AI for failure clustering. And we had failures in different areas that look like it's the same area that was Joe touching the code again. Agentic automated testing. I like to see it to believe it, but okay. And to be fair, the AI wrote all this, so I'm sure it's just self promoting it. Autonomous objective agents. Take a look at agents.ai. I think this is kind of cool. Agents.ai. It's not agents, it's testers. Testers. I gotta spell it correctly. Testers.ai. This is kind of like what it is talking about, and definitely a cool thing to do. I gotta go and start from free and upgrade when you're hooked. Well, isn't that that is not far off from the truth? In fact, it's about as spot on as you get. I am personally don't have any addictions that would prevent me from passing a drug test and staying in the field that I enjoy doing. However, if there is an addiction that's out there, AI addiction is one of the things that yeah, I can definitely see having doing interesting things. Run a quality scan and needs a URL. Let's see, www.candymapper.com. We'll put that in there. Email. Oh, and my work is the dark arts wizard at gmail.com. Email for coverage. We benchmark against your team's past runs. Okay. Did I get it right? The Dark Arts Wizard, candymapper.com, run quality scan. Let's go see what happens when I do this. Is this use your work email for richer coverage? That's nice, but I can't because I am unemployed. So if you want me to use a work email over here, we will do admin at hello. What happened to my keys? At candymapper.com. I'll try that again. For some reason, my arrow keys have decided today is not a good day to be working. Okay. Did I do it? Run quality test. Sign in required. Sign in. Freaking sign up. All right. How about admin at candymapper.com? And let's go. Let's go sign in. Invalid email or password. Log into. Let's try that. I don't think that's it. Let's try that. Nope. I don't want to show my password, so we're not going to go do that. Anyway, good place to try and do this. Try to check out this. Let's do. I'm going to go to maybe YouTube and show that off. Let's do that. Go over here and Let's see if we got tester.ai, testers.ai, and I do have with Jason Arbon over here, and Jason is doing the whole thing. Let's go to the full screen, and you can kind of see what it's doing. These are the agents going through and looking for stuff as it finds. It's pretty darn cool. You have all these different agents. They're all AI agents, and they are all uniquely identified to a different task in automation. So one will be looking for, let's say, accessibility to see how well it follows the rules for people who have visual impairments, color blindness, stuff like that. Another one will be looking for security checks. Another one will be looking for how see if there's any issues with the input fields. A whole range. There's like 9 of them. And then they have a 10th AI who is like an orchestrator. He gets all of the information back because a lot of these 9 can duplicate what is being done, and then it will go and sort through all of them and remove the duplicates and then give you a nice report about exactly what was found very quickly and easily. And then you compile that up onto the plate for your developers to go and fix. So that is going to be our end of our session. Thank you very much for hanging out with me and taking a look at all the cool things that can be done in test automation, especially with WebSim. If you see something that you want to do, go check it out. Thanks to Mateus, who gave us cool ideas as we were here. And with that, I'm going to wrap up this 2-hour session. Hope you have a great day. If you have any suggestions or you want to add stuff to us or even fork the project, you can find it, as I mentioned, with this URL right below me. Everybody, have yourself a great day. Take care. Cheers.